All right, well, welcome everyone to another edition of the Unpredictable Pipeline. In this series, we are talking to marketing leaders about how they have really sort of navigated 2020. We all started the year with a different idea of what was going to happen, with plans of building predictable pipeline and growth for organization, and then the year had different plans. So joining us today, Heather Teicher. She is the VP of Marketing at GBG. And Heather, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we want to maybe have you start just by talk about your role, your leadership role in the company, and then, what the company does, and then what, the beginning of the year looked like for you guys as you sort of pivoted into the headwinds of this year.
Certainly. So I'm a member of GBG, which is a global technology organization specializing in fraud, location, and identity data intelligence. We're the guardians of trust in the digital world. The company was started in the UK, is listed on the London Stock Exchange, and we have over 1,000 employees globally, supporting a customer base of over 20,000, which includes e-commerce companies you've recognized like Nordstrom, Michaels, ASOS, Kohl's, as well as major banks like Bank of America, Citibank, HSBC, ING. Our global marketing team is 40 people strong across APAC, Europe, and the US, and that gives us a really nice perspective as things are changing very, very quickly, very differently in other regions. Mm-hmm. I personally lead North American marketing for a division of GBG called Loqate, which is our location intelligence solution. We help every business in the world reach every customer in the world with a single global API for geocoding and address verification, making it really easy for consumers to enter accurate information during checkout.
Awesome.
So coming into this year, it was very, very different than what any of us expected. We all build plans and then big surprises. But it's been incredible how supportive of the people GBG has been. And end of February, in a snap of a fingers, the entire New York City team went remote, no questions asked. And they've been incredibly warm and supportive in making sure that the people come first, and that's both the employees and the customers, to make sure that everybody is healthy and able to be productive. And we've all come together amazingly globally.
And you described it to me as blood, sweat, and no tears, especially in Q2 of this year, where you said, you've got a decent team, but like a lot of companies, you went into sort of cash conservation mode, and you lost a lot of your marketing budget. And so, we talked about earlier, sometimes when you don't have budget, you're forced to be more focused and more creative. Talk about what came out of that period with your team.
Absolutely. So we went to virtually zero budget. So the virtual bit is we did keep our PPC ads running because we thought that was really important. And we're lucky that we do have technology that people need as consumers are moving to more digital channels. Our technology is helping those businesses keep up with the volumes. So we actually saw Black Friday volumes coming through in our transaction data at various points through this COVID crisis. So it's been quite crazy. But yes, blood, sweat, and no tears. How do you keep your people safe, keep them happy and engaged, but get really creative with no dollars? So we took an immediate response plan, basically looked at what are the categories who are winning right now, who's doing okay, and then who's impacted negatively. And we had very specific communication channels for each of those segments. We also were very surprised at some of the inbound volume. I mean, it was actually greater than last year. So there were definitely people looking at their digital operations and doing their best to add the right components to serve these consumers. We also had to think about creative delivery options, contactless delivery, last mile delivery, all that jazz. So coming up with the right messages and the right emotional tone was very important. So we worked very closely with our sales team in putting the customer, the prospect first. We'll take your lead. Being super supportive and understanding, no hard selling, but we were actually unusual that we didn't stop outbound. Yeah. We kept going, and we were surprised that there was tremendous volume from footwear because the nurses and the doctors needed specific footwear, which were coming to us for help. Beauty did incredibly well, and of course, grocery.
Yeah.
So one of the campaigns we chatted about previously is how do you replace direct mail ABM? because we did a lot of volume last year as
Mhm.
far as pure meeting makers using direct mailboxes. And that wasn't possible with everybody working from home and things a little bit crazy as far as what's appropriate. So we opted not to send anything physically to home addresses because we thought that would be a bit of an intrusion. And we pivoted to a digital gift card campaign where we offered people to restock their fridges for a week. Because at the time, especially in the US, there was a lot of difficulty getting the right groceries, whether you were still going into stores or whether you were having things delivered. There were no delivery slots, there wasn't availability. So we thought that would be something people would appreciate. And we launched that in early March and got a great response from both pipeline acceleration, helping progress some deals that went quiet, just to be really thoughtful to say, we're thinking of you at this time. However you want to proceed is good by us, but please take our token, as well as opening up brand new pipeline.
Yeah. You also mentioned that you guys were leaning in more on customer marketing as well, including creating a best practice series to reinforce value and loyalty with your customers. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. So we thought that was important to have some feel-good content and also content that people could act on right away. So one series was just 80 companies doing good in the world. So which companies were going out of their way to take care of their customers or to be charitable to help all the people in need at this time. So we did a great roundup piece that got very popular on social, as well as we did a series of best practices in terms of UX and other digital things that people could apply to help folks that are stressed out and maybe new to digital shopping. So we've also seen this interesting trend of the elderly folks that weren't traditionally digital shoppers going online for the first time and helping some of our retailers create friction-free experiences for them, to keep them coming back online.
Nice. You mentioned, taking some of those, offline marketing efforts and moving those to a virtual format. And I think, like a lot of companies, it could be a challenge to recreate the intimacy of that small group effort, right? Especially among sort of more senior decision makers, where you want to make it less of a presentation, more of a discussion. What were some things that you guys did to sort of make those virtual events, make those digital events feel more valuable and more intimate?
So we had great success with small dinners, 10 to 15 people last year. And I don't know if anybody's quite cracked the code on how to make that work digitally. What we did learn is people don't like to eat on camera. So don't buy them lunch and invite them to eat with you, because it doesn't work well at all. We are working on some interesting things with virtual wine tasting, virtual chocolate tastings, getting a bit creative on the experiences. I've heard some folks are bringing DJs in for private DJ sets and comedy sets for private members, but we're just looking at how can we take the broadcast format and make it more interactive. So panel discussions, having some surveys where people have more say on what's included in a given webinar, and also thinking about what type of incentive for people to attend. So maybe it's giving them a 15-minute private session with the speaker, or something that you're not necessarily going to have as a competitive call to action you see from every company. So that's been quite interesting. And we've done a number of webinars with non-competing tech partners that have worked really well at $0 just to share audiences.
Awesome. Last question for you, Heather, before we wrap up, and this wasn't on the list, but I promise it's an easy one. I think I'd be curious, we still, as we record this in early September, may still be in for a little more of, hunker down time as before we get out of this. But I'm curious, what is something that you miss from beginning of Q1 that you're looking forward to going back to or being able to do or experience again? And then also, what's something you don't miss? That this time in a different normal has really sort of reinforced that, you don't want to go back to or don't want to have to go back to experiencing that?
I don't miss the commute. I've used those 3 hours every day to get to working out, which has helped tremendously. So that part is great. I miss being in person with my team. I think there's a lot of great bonding that happens. There's a lot of great collaboration in person, and we all do our best. Something I've done is randomly send surprises to team members when they did something nice. So I found cocktail flavored jelly beans that I sent to one team member. So I think that element of surprise helps. And it's also something I've seen work really well with customers.
All right, I'm writing down cocktail flavored jelly beans. I had no idea those existed, and I need to know about these things. All right, awesome.
Hold on, I got one more for you.
Yeah.
CMO Coffee Talk is
Mm.
something that I greatly value, working in this environment, being able to collaborate with folks that I wouldn't have if we were in the office, because I don't think the community would have come together like they did had we not been in this interesting circumstance. But I'm super impressed with the quality of participation. You and Latney have done an amazing job, and thank you for building that community and keeping it running.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. It's been an honor. And, I think as we record this, we're up to about 600 members that either join the Friday morning calls or that are on the Slack channel. And it's been, I don't know if we would have been able to grow it at the level that we had if it weren't for this. And so, there's silver linings certainly in this year in terms of lessons and opportunities. Well, Heather Teicher, VP of Marketing for GBG, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit of how you've managed this year's unpredictable pipeline.
Thank you, Matt.